That's right, it is bubbling over and heating up here in the Northern Hemisphere because we are well into July and we are live with the community. This is a Microsoft 365 and Power Platform Development bi-weekly call. My name is David Warner, your humble host with Quizzitive today, and I am so excited for what we have in store for everyone today. So let's take a look at the agenda. What is it that we're going to talk about? We're going to see the latest updates from the community. We're going to see the Copilot prompt of the week, talk about PnP.NET libraries, PowerShell script samples. We're going to talk about Power Platform samples. And then, of course, we're going to have everybody's favorite time, which is picture time. So get those fantastic faces ready. And then we've got a trifecta, a hat trick, if you will, of amazing demos today. Maddie is back to talk about Triggernometry, advanced Copilot Studio topic triggers. I also want to say trigger is my trigger word, Matt, so be careful because I don't want to be triggered. All right, it's going to be awesome. Yuti is here. She's going to talk about building a Booking.com clone in SharePoint portals from the hackathon, SharePoint hackathon. And then Martin's going to round it out on highlighting Federated Identity, deploying Microsoft 365 artifacts from Azure DevOps and GitHub without certificates or secrets. And we are going for the longest title in history with that one. But it is exciting. It's going to be awesome. So we're looking forward to all three of those. Now, what do we have available for each and every one of you for $0? Yep, that's right, no cost. All of these resources are absolutely free, so you absolutely want to absolutely take advantage of them. I'm on a repetition day today, right? These are absolutely awesome. Yep. Microsoft Community Learning videos, we start there. It is our YouTube channel. And we are breaking all the rules in all the right ways. They keep telling us, hey, everybody, you know, you might actually get better statistics if you post less. And we say we're posting more because we have so much great content that we want to share with the community. So definitely go get liked and subscribed there on all of those videos. They are there for you to benefit from with all the technology that we use. We've also got our LinkedIn group for discussions that you can communicate and collaborate with other members of the community on. We've got our open source projects, such as things like PnP.js and CLI for Microsoft 365. We've got our sample galleries, which we'll talk a lot about today, team samples, SPFX samples, Power Platform samples, list formatting. The list goes on and on, but you don't got to remember all of these URLs, just one, and that is our ak.ms/community/home, or hey, maybe two, the easier top-level fancy domain, community.ms. So check those out, and it'll give you access to all of them. We've also got our community calls, and that's where you are now, just in case you were wondering. We've got our weekly Microsoft 365 Power Platform call. Now, this is with Microsoft speakers, and it normally goes on a holiday break. We were on a break for July and August, but it didn't. We're doing a community takeover, so it is still here each and every Tuesday for the rest of forever, and we are excited for all of the presentations that are going to be done there. We've got our monthly Power Platform call, our Office add-ins monthly. We've also got our bi-weekly Microsoft 365 Power Platform development call, which you're on right now. You are here. And we've got our Viva Connections and SharePoint Framework, which is next Thursday. You can get access to all of these calls at ak.ms/community/calls. Download the ICS files, get them on your calendar. These are like a crystal ball into what's now, what's new, what's next. We get to see how everyone in the world is using the technology, sometimes in ways we didn't even know possible. So it's well worth your time. Speaking of the next call, that is going to be on the 8th of July, which is Tuesday. So we're going to have a mashup here of Microsoft speakers and community speakers. So Rabia or Paolo might be here talking about TypeSpec. Julie's going to be talking about Dataverse MCP. And Nikki, a SharePoint Hackathon entry person, is going to be talking about the deck solving homepage. So we're looking forward to that. I believe it's going to be her first presentation on the community call. So we want to show a lot of welcome to her. And if you're watching presentations and you're like, well, I have some cool stuff to show off, but I mean, does anybody really want to see it? The answer is yes, everybody wants to see it. So don't second guess, don't think you have to make time travel possible or anything like that to present on these calls. If you've got a demo, a sample, a tip, a trick, you've got something that you want to share that you find value in, then do it. Share it. Let us know. Even if you've never presented and it seems a little overwhelming, don't sweat it. We're here to support you. And we can even buddy up with you. If you need some support and you want to do kind of like a duet presentation, that's okay too. Singing may not be our strong suit, but we're willing to try and help you in every little way we can. So don't hesitate to fill that out, ak.ms/community/request/demo/ all of those URLs, and we will ensure that we get back with you and get it scheduled. And as you're working with the samples today and you see some of those samples and you're like, I want to contribute to those samples too. That's another thing I'd like to do, but I don't know about that GitHub place. It's a confusing labyrinth of terms like fork and blame and raw, and I don't know how those go together. Don't worry, Sharing is Caring is here. We just had one last week. It is a program that walks you through how to contribute to the community using GitHub, amongst other topics, but we're focused on those contributions right now. It is live, which means we go into a Teams call together. We're hands-on. We actually do a live, real contribution in the call together, and it's not recorded. What's the benefit of not recording it? Well, you can ask any and all questions without fear of it going on record. Sometimes we're afraid to ask questions because no one else is, so we think it's a dumb question. We don't ask it. We don't get the answer. We don't learn. So we don't want to do that. We want to make sure that everybody is empowered to do more in the community in ways that we can recognize you. And speaking of which, we're going to have that session coming up soon, scheduled in July this month, so be on the lookout for that. And speaking of recognition, our recognition program is alive and well. It is powered by Credly, which means that those badges that we all have been seeing and loving, things like Prompt Pro, Snippet Sorcerer, are accredited and real. And by the way, we just finished up our Star Wars season, right? Those have been super cool. And we're starting now superhero season. So this is one of those badges. This is a bonus badge, in fact. The Porcupine Rises, hosting and showing off Parker as one of the favorite superheroes. These are 5 different new badges that are going to be available to everyone, absolutely free during the next 4 months. So you're gonna have lots of opportunity. We just published them on Credly, and in fact, it's been so successful for the recognition program that Credly is launching next week a case study on the success that we've had in the community due to all of the work that you all have been doing. So we cannot be more appreciative. We're super excited to see that come out. Definitely we'll share it on the interwebs once it comes out and we see what they have to say about it. But again, it's only successful because of all of the work that you all have been putting into the community. So we are very, very appreciative. We do need you to opt in, aka.ms/community/recognition, and that will ensure that we're able to track the work you're doing and recognize you for it. Absolutely free. Now let's get into some project-specific updates. We've got our prompt library. Again, we're all starting to learn how to interact with Copilot and AI, becoming sort of pseudo prompt engineers, professional prompt engineers. It's the love language of AI. So we want to make sure that sometimes it's overwhelming because you can ask anything and everything. So this prompt library helps us in understanding how others are doing it. And you can go to ak.ms/pnp-prompt-library to see some. And if you do contribute, guess what? You might be our prompt of the week. So we've got this elevator pitch alchemist from Andre. Super, super cool. It says, turn any half-baked. That sounds like everything I say. Any half-baked thought into a 90-second pitch that makes heads snap. So I'm not going to read all that. You can see it. But it's a great idea. Kind of taking an idea that's been, generated in your mind and helping think through it. So it's a really great use case there, Andre. Thank you so much. All right, let's move into PNP.NET libraries with Bert.
Yes, thank you, David. For PNP, it's a quiet period, but we had one update from Oliver Fast. We did fix some time zone mapping issue where we wrongly set Dublin as a UTC, which is something different. So that was a mistake, but it's fixed now. Overall, I think usage is still growing. Lots of tenants doing massive amounts of requests. So, but yeah, I think all going good there. And then let's move to PowerShell then. Thank you all, folks.
Awesome. Thank you, Bert. Yep. PowerShell got them. Tell us what's so powerful in the shell.
Hey, David, thanks, David. Summer is here, and with that, things are often slow a bit. What we did here in the latest nightly builds is we added one new command around the brand center font package. So if you create a font package, you can upload that to the brand center. Besides that, we also improved a couple of things around Connect PNP Online, as well as the Entra ID app registration process as well. So there were quite a few issues around the device login thing. So we managed to fix that and improve that experience overall for the end users. What else? Things are going slow because it's summer over here. We will continue working on minor bug fixes and improvements. And if in case you run into certain issues, feel free to reach out to us. Yep. Thanks. Over to you, David.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. I got to say, you guys are doing a really, really great job. I'm a little unsure if I could trust PowerShell with only 140 million commandlets executed per day. I mean, if it was 141 million, totally trustworthy. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
This is amazing, amazing work, everybody. So if you're not using PowerShell and specifically PnP PowerShell, you're missing out. Definitely check it out. Team's doing great, great work. All right, let's talk about another great, amazing project, and that is script samples with Paul Bullock.
Thank you, David. Yeah, if you want some slightly more trustworthy samples to help bring up that extra 1 million calls remaining, then I have the library for you. So so script samples is a library where you can share PowerShell scripts, Bash scripts with the community, things like PnP PowerShell, SPO Management Shell, CLI for 365, and all of that good stuff is integrated into this solution sample gallery, so you can use that or you can use the site that I provide for you, so see that. So we've got a wonderful new sample, a meltingly hot sizzling sample for you with where you can restore multiple items. I love the sound effects, David, right on cue, thank you, from Panjak Badoni. So thank you very much. So you can restore multiple items from recycle bins and stuff like that. So but I appreciate your contributions and thank you very much. If you get stuck or you need help, you've got a script that you want to submit, but you're not sure where to start, or like you said, GitHub can be a bit scary, feel free to reach out to me. I'm on multiple social media channels and I'm more than happy to help you get started. And there's a badge in it for you. So we've had a number of first-time contributors, so there'll be a badge on the way to you guys as well. So thank you very much, and back to you, David.
Awesome. Thank you, Paul. And folks, this is another easy way to contribute to the community because we all have those utility scripts that we've created for a variety of reasons. And Paul is such an awesome maintainer here, helps you. Don't hesitate to reach out. It's really a great opportunity. Another great opportunity is, of course, our Power Platform sample snippets and prompts. Kate, tell me more.
Yes, hello everybody. Thank you very much, David. And I'm excited to share today's new snippet from Steve, People Picker for Power Apps Canvas app. Thank you very much, Steve. This is a fantastic and super useful addition. And I also want to take a moment to thank all the amazing contributors who helped us to reach over 200 high quality samples, snippets, and prompts in our repositories. Your time and effort are truly appreciated. And as always, new contributors, new submissions are very welcome. And if you would like to get involved, just check out contribution guides. You can find them following these links that you can see on this slide. And of course, if you need some support or assistance from my side, do not hesitate to reach out to me directly, and I will get you covered. So let's build together, and back to you, David. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Kate. Great job there. And Steve, great job on the snippet. Really appreciate that. Love those snippets. Okay, well, what time is it, everybody? It is picture time. So we've got Together mode turned on here. If you would like to turn on your camera, I will do the same, and I'll get this moved in here. And as everybody gets that turned on, we'll make a little bit more room if Teams wants to. Come on, Teams. There we go. Make a little bit more room there. Make it bigger. Excellent. Good, good, good. All right, and I will set up Camtasia here while we get all that turned on. I see Yuti, I see Matt, I see Todd, I see Bill. Look at that. Bill and I are always sitting next to one another. I remember back in Ignite in like 2019, Bill and I was sitting next to each other in person, and we're still at it virtually. So see Kate. All right, we can give it just a couple more seconds. We're doing okay on time, everybody. If you would like to activate, I know sometimes Teams is a little latent in that activation. So we'll give everybody just a couple more seconds. Great to see you all here. All right, let's do the countdown, everybody. 3, 2, 1. Woo! There we go. All right, great to see you. Let's wave to the community. Martin's got the smile of 1,000 smiles. Love it. Excellent. Great, great job. Appreciate seeing everybody. Again, we would not have these opportunities possible without all of your dedication and passion. So thank you, thank you, thank you. We cannot thank you enough. All right, we will get that captured and shared out onto the interwebs. And now with that, we will move into our regularly scheduled program. So we'll start out with Maddie from Takeda. He's going to talk about Triggernometry, advanced Copilot Studio topic triggers. Fire away. See what I did there? Trigger, fire away.
Very, very, very
Feel
nice,
free to
David.
take on over the screen.
I will do that. All right, welcome.
Oh no, did we lose Matt?
Matt is frozen for me too.
Oh boy.
Triggernometry platform offers us.
Oh, he's back. Matt, we kind of lost you
Can
for
you
a
hear me?
second there, but yeah, we lost you for a second there. If you just want to maybe restart, we'll fix it in post. But you kind of like locked up there for a second.
no problem.
We lost you in the ether.
Ooh. No problem. So welcome to Triggernometry. We're going to be talking about some of the topic triggers inside of Copilot Studio, really going back to Power Virtual Agents and just understanding foundational capabilities that are there for you. But first, just a little bit about me. So I got my bachelor's in computer graphics. I've been spending my entire career in IT, a lot of different roles from dev to arc to managing director. I got started back in the day with SharePoint 2007, currently serving as the head of Copilot and Microsoft 365 apps at Takeda, and also a dual MVP inside of business applications and AI platform. Okay, that's enough about me. So what are we going to be talking about today? Well, like I said, we're going to be really going through definitions of different trigger types. We're going to do plenty of demos. A little sort of sneak peek into the demos. We're going to be doing a old demo I actually did, a expedited old demo I did last year on custom feedback that no longer works based on changes to Copilot Studio. We're going to see how to make it work with some of the new trigger types. And that is what we're going to be doing. So let's jump right into some definitions. So we've got a lot of different types of triggers by default. And we've got our classic orchestration triggers, and then we have some generative orchestration triggers. Now, in the last few weeks, this has changed to the point where you normally had to enable generative AI inside of your Copilot to be able to see those generative AI features. That's now the default. So the good news is all of the classic trigger types are there still for you, except for one. And that's the very first one, which is the one you've probably used the most if you were sort of a Power Virtual Agent user back in the day, which is the user says a phrase. So this is all about natural language understanding. This is all about trying to predict the words that your users will ask for. And that if you're able to get that match, it will trigger your topic. Now, it, again, a few years back was the only way to really trigger or try to have a conversational approach, but we're going to see this gets replaced by a new generative AI trigger type in a second. You also have when an activity occurs. Now, you have a ton of different types of activities that you can trigger on, even including things like message reactions to your messages inside of the Microsoft Teams client. We can trigger when a message is received, and it's actually just a specific type of activity. I mentioned all the different types. Some of these are sort of redundant, but we're focusing on the highlights when you go in and create a new topic. And then we also have the ability to interface with custom client events. So imagine building something in Power Apps or building something in a custom web app. Let's say you've got a map of all your locations. Somebody clicks on that map and you want to maybe give information from your chatbot directly to that from that location. You can do things like that with those custom client events. And moving right along, the next part here we have for our classic triggers when the conversation changes. So maybe it's somebody coming back to join a conversation with an HR agent and you want to capture them rejoining. You also have the ability to do something when something's been invoked. So let's say that the user is inside of Teams, they're interacting with the search bar and you want to be able to respond to that interaction, you can do that. You also can do a redirect to a topic. So if you want to have a topic that's never going to be directly hit, but one that other topics actually redirect to when you want and choose to, you can do that. And then another one that I think it's been there for a while, I'm not sure how many users are familiar with, is when someone has been inactive. And so you want to be able to just reach out and ask the user if they're still there, if there's anything that you can help with. So those are all the classic orchestration types. And again, you're going to get them all either way, except for the phrases one, which gets replaced with this first one I'm showing now, which is the agent chooses. So that's when we basically say we're not going to try and predict the 100 different combinations of how a user might ask for store hours. We're going to essentially just let AI handle that. And we're going to create a topic. We're going to tell AI what it's for, and we're going to rely on it to determine based on what the user said, shifting them over to that topic. And then we've got two newer ones within just the last few months. One, when a AI plan has completed, and then also when an AI generated response is about to be sent. The keyword is about, because it has not been sent yet, and we're going to actually do some demos on that particular one. So let's actually jump right into it. So the first thing that we're going to do is I am creating a brand new agent so that you know there's nothing in here yet. I've skipped to the advanced configuration. We're just going to call it M365 demo, and we will go ahead and click that. And we will give it just a few seconds for it to create our agent so that you know, again, that this is fresh out of the oven. Now, while we're waiting for this, again, some of the changes I'll try to highlight as we're working through this particular demo. If you've been in here 2 weeks ago, you may see changes, right, as far as things that are different about the UI. So I'll try to highlight some of those. So the first thing, though, that I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the settings and, again, sort of highlight the fact that this is already going to be using generative orchestration. And, again, back a few weeks ago, it wasn't. This was the default. Also, just sort of a throw-in free tip for you. If you're wondering where some of the knowledge settings used to be on the knowledge and overview pages, such as relating to being able to have the model use general knowledge, those are now tucked inside of the generative AI capability. So if I didn't want to actually have the general knowledge capability on my model, this is where I could turn it off, but we're going to leave everything as is. So I'm going to go ahead and go over to topics, and I'm going to go create a new topic from blank. And this is where we get to see all of those trigger types that I just very quickly went over. And so for this particular one, we want to actually do something when the user has been inactive for a while. So we could say they've been active for a while. We could do something simple. We could say, is there anything I can help you with? And you're saying, well, when is this going to happen? And if we go and edit this, this is where we're going to actually see that by default gives us 15, 30, 45 minutes, an hour. Now, if I flip this over to formula, this actually takes me to the number of seconds. So if you wanted to be able to change this to meet your needs, you can do that. And I will say one thing, you will not see this trigger fire inside of the Copilot Studio test module. If you wanted to actually put that in Teams, you would. And then you would end up with something sort of like this, where I was outputting can I help you with? I was outputting the channel, and are you still there? Yes or no. So again, these do work really well, but you're not going to be able to see them in Teams. I didn't want to take time away from our demo for that, but that's how you would do that particular one. And for this, we are actually going to just repurpose this. Let's just go ahead and kill this and do something different. The next one is the message received. So let's say that I want to sort of understand, like, what's the tone and feeling of my user throughout the conversation. So I feel like, hey, they're getting upset. I need to escalate this to a live agent. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to change, and I'm going to say this is a message has been received. Okay, and then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add a tool call. And I've actually created up here with the ability to do a new prompt. I've created one already for the demo called sentiment, and I'm just passing in text. And then I'm asking the model to say positive, neutral, negative. And so for what we're putting into it, we're going to actually go down here and we're going to look at the last message as text. And then again, if I quickly pull up this model, you'll see a very, very simple prompt. And again, that's just going to be positive, neutral, or negative. Okay, so we'll go ahead and close that out and confirm that. That's fine. And now with the output, we'll create a new variable. And so now we've got a variable that's actually tracking what's happening here. And the last thing that I want to actually do is I want to do a condition on this. And so I want to be able to say, and we're going to actually flip this over and we're going to change it to a formula. And I want to basically be able to say, is that variables? And we'll say lower to the topic.var1.text, right? Is that equal to negative? And the reason I'm doing this check on the lower is because of the fact that it often likes to go ahead and not necessarily follow that exactly. And so sometimes it will do some capitalization. And so I'm just doing some extra covering here to basically make sure. And so I can say if the topic is negative, right, then I want to do something, right? And so I'm going to say, I'm sorry to hear you're frustrated. Let's get you to a live agent. And then let's say I can actually do the topic management and do a transfer conversation and do that. And we'll actually not go with transfer conversation. We'll just go ahead and do the topic management to go to the escalation topic. Go ahead and save this, and we'll call this the sentiment. And so again, what's happening now is every time the user is talking, running this prompt, I'm seeing what they think, and I can see if they're getting upset because I feel like it's coming back negative. So I can just say, hey, what's up? Hopefully that's not negative. Okay, and you can see it's already triggered it, right? And you can see that it's gone to the other side of our topic because of the fact that it wasn't negative. And I can say my tummy is upset. And now, again, that's going to fire, and we can see that I'm sorry to hear you're frustrated. Let's get you to a live agent. And the irony of that is the live agents have been set up, so you're not going to be able to get to one. But that's a great way or use case of the actual message event. And then now I want to go into one more. So I'm going to go to topics. I'm actually going to turn this one off because I don't want it to interfere with our demo. This is one of my favorite ones in the types of triggers, and that is this here is a generated response is about to be completed. So I mentioned the custom feedback ability and how the generative AI boosting topic actually is no longer being hit. Essentially what's happening is if you followed that tutorial and you're trying to put in your adaptive card, it's not going to happen because the way that things have changed, you don't get to tap into that event. But this one does allow you to. And so I can do several things here. I can say send a message. And if I go to my variables system, you're going to see if I scroll down the list that I actually have a response variable already there for me in the system. I can say that's the formatted text. If I want to, I can then go in and I can add the adaptive card here. And for purposes of the demo, we'll actually skip that. It is the same one, and I'll put a comment on my blog here. And then when I go to the end here, I also have the ability to do variable management, set a variable value. This is important. If you set the continue response variable to false, this is basically your way to hijack the generative AI response. So if I do this right now, and we'll say a Gen AI, and we'll save it, and we'll ask something really quick. We'll say, how tall is David Warner? And tried this before, and it's probably not the answer that we want, but we get the Australian cricketer. Sorry, David. But what's happening here, again, you can see the topics being hit. I'm still outputting the answer, and I'm killing the variable, and I'm saying basically I'm in charge of it. So other things you could do here, you could output the adaptive card here to be able to say looks good, doesn't look good, etc. And also imagine, let's say that your company has a list of words that they don't want to ever show up inside of a response, right? We could definitely check that particular list of words. And then by intercepting that, right, we could basically say, hey, this response is one of, a flagged word, and I'm not going to show you the response. So this is super, super powerful. This gives you full control, allows you to evaluate the response, allows you to see the citations, do anything you want. And that, in a nutshell, is advanced trigonometry. So that is it. Thank you.
All right. I feel like we need a degree at the end of this, right? It's pretty awesome, Matt. So thank you. Really, really good job. I'm sure that there's a lot more that you can get into, so we'll have to have you come back very, very soon and cover some more of that. I'm sure there's lots of rabbit holes we can go down to take advantage of those triggers. Awesome job. All right, Yuti, you are up. Feel free to take on over the screen share if you'd like. As I introduce you, Yuti is here to talk about building a Booking.com clone in SharePoint portals. She was a SharePoint hackathon entry, and this is her first time presenting on the community call. So we want to make sure that we show her lots of community love. So feel free to.
Okay, I'm just sharing my screen. Is it showing now?
No. Not seeing anything. Okay, seems like Teams is just not playing nicely with you. So let's do this. Let's try this. Why don't you disconnect, maybe do a reboot real quick and come back in. And then what we can do is we can segue over to Martin.
That works.
Yeah, and then we can come back to you. So what we'll do is, let me just do this just to set everything up. Okay, so Martin, if you're ready, you can take on over the screen share here momentarily, and he is going to talk about highlighting federated identity, deploying Microsoft 365 artifacts from Azure DevOps and GitHub without certificates or secrets. Shh, no secrets.
Absolutely.
So take it away.
Hi. Do you hear me all right?
Yep, and I see the screen.
Awesome. You see the screen. Awesome. No glitching on this machine, at least currently, because it does that all the time as well. Sometimes. Okay, so I'd like to talk today with you about deploying Microsoft 365 artifacts, and then from Azure DevOps or GitHub without using certificates or secrets. So this is called Federated Identity. I'll go into it momentarily, but first a little bit about me, who I am. I'm a Microsoft 365 architect and developer at a small company in the Netherlands called iView. You can reach me in all various ways. So if you'd like to talk to me or ask me a question, do so. I have a blog. I do a lot of blogging there, or at least some blogging on things that really interest me. I'm also an MVP on development, Microsoft 365 development. And let's go on. Enough about me already. So automated deployments. What is it? Well, at least for me, it is a no-brainer. I do remember the times when we always deployed manually, like things we deployed them from my machine. But really, that's just so bad, right? I mean, we're developers. We're not lazy. We just don't like repetitive tasks. We love automation. So if we create something, we just want to deploy it to that or upload it to that central happy place called a repository, be it GitHub or Azure DevOps. And we want some automated process to pick that right up and deploy it using whatever tool to whatever place, like be it Azure, be it Microsoft 365, or really just anywhere. Let me just push my code and then let it be deployed automatically. That would be fine, right? It's called CI/CD or continuous integration, continuous deployment, things like that. And there's also other people in the company, #CSO, who generally want us to deploy in a controlled and secure way. So, and according to business rules. So you may have heard this from a lot of people in your company, like, please only deploy to production after approval. So this is something that you can implement using these kind of pipelines, using these kinds of automations. So automated deployment is really a no-brainer, right? So everyone wants it or should want it. And it's also great for multiple tenants. So a lot of our customers have multiple tenants for like testing stuff out. So they have this test tenant for specific things so they can arrange things in Microsoft 365 to see how it all works. And then if everything is right, they deploy it to production. So this is a great thing if you have automated deployments, because you can just push things through from test to production. So this is, of course, the basics of automated deployments. So what should we deploy to Microsoft 365? What kind of artifacts? Well, of course, SharePoint Framework Solutions. That's what comes to my mind immediately. I mean, having to type gulp bundle ship, gulp package solution, ship, uploading to the app catalog. That's just too much work. But of course, you can deploy all kinds of stuff. Copilot agents, SharePoint agents. I mean, those are just JSON files somewhere in a SharePoint site. Why can't we just move them through a central location and deploy them automatically? Site scripts and site templates, which are Microsoft's own templating or provisioning kind of system, right? To make a site more in the way you want it, having specific libraries and stuff. I mean, what we do is just save those to repositories as well and deploy them across tenants from test to production as well. Power Platform solutions, of course. And I mean, you can really just do anything. You go, girl, deploy anything. Using automation, the more automation, I think, the better. So what do you need? So you need a YAML definition most of the time and YAML skills. Most of the people don't like those things. You need your favorite command line tool, be it, for example, the CLI for Microsoft 365 or PnP PowerShell, also possible. And you need, most of the time, a app registration and Entra ID, because you need to authenticate from the pipeline to your Microsoft 365 tenants. So let's dive into a small demo to see how that all works. So I do have this nice Azure DevOps environment. So if you haven't seen this before, this is just really a repository containing a hello world web part. You know, it's not really very interesting what's in here. It's just a SPFX web part. And what I have here is a built-in deployment pipeline. And this pipeline is really like, let me enlarge this a bit. It's really interesting. I mean, there's some interesting steps here in terms of building, bundling, and shipping. And then it's like copying this to a staging directory and making it an artifact. And then in the end, it will start a deployment stage. And this is where the real magic happens. Wait, this is not working at all for me. Right. Let me try that another time. Okay, so this is the deployment stage in the pipeline. It will download the artifact that has just been built, and it will, install Microsoft 365 CLI on the machine that this pipeline is running on, and it will execute a script. And this is really interesting. I mean, this is really just doing what I would like it to do. It's uploading the app, the application app, the solution package that I've just created, and it's uploading that to the app catalog and deploying it for all the organization to see. So that's great, but the hardest part is always this one. So how do we log in? How do we write this? You know, for example, if you might need a certificate here. So how do you do that? So what kind of things do you need to add? Do you need to upload the certificate somewhere? There's a lot of work to do that. So let's go back for a moment into my slides. So this is the big question, right? How do we sign in within a pipeline? And there's a couple of ways that people generally do it. For example, you could just use a service account, which I think is actually a bit ugly. I mean, it's really a user, right? And maybe you would have MFA policies on a user. I really don't like this, and Microsoft surely does not recommend using a user account within a pipeline to do it. But it's possible. But yet, well, you have to save the password to the pipeline, and I mean, passwords can leak, right? They can somehow be exposed to other people, and this is not maybe a very nice way to do a deployment from within a pipeline. So how do we do it then? Well, we might use client secrets, which is actually also a kind of a password, an Enter ID app with a password. Right? And secrets can still leak. I mean, it's still not really nice. And of course, it's also not really supported on all services. For example, SharePoint does not support using secrets to communicate. Well, what do we use then? Well, maybe a certificate. Very nice. A certificate is really just a very fancy secret. It's like a secret two parts. You've got a private secret and a public secret. And it's, well, or at least you've got a private secret and a public key. And it's nice, but it's still, a secret can leak, and a secret can expire. And generally, secrets are experienced as being a bit difficult, just like DNS and time zones. So what do we use then? Well, within a pipeline, we could also use managed identity, but that's really only within Azure DevOps, and it's not really recommended by Microsoft. And also, there's really no support within, for example, the CLI for Microsoft 365 to do this within Azure DevOps. So the idea is that you would have your own VM, and then you need to build your stuff in there and connect it to Azure DevOps. I mean, it's not really the nice way. Really, the best way to do this is called Federated Identity. And this is a subject that's been incorporated or deployed by Microsoft, offered by Microsoft, like I think 2 years back or something like that, maybe a bit longer. And Federated Identity is really just awesome. It's actually more of a contract between multiple parties, like a contract between Enter ID and GitHub working together to authenticate, to allow certain build pipelines to deploy stuff to Microsoft 365 or to any other place. So it's supported on GitHub, it's supported on DevOps. Let's just see how to set this up. So I've got this fantastic GitHub place. So maybe you recognize this. This is GitHub. And what I have here is more like the same, actually the exact same SPFX web part that you just saw SharePoint Framework web parts with a build pipeline. And this build pipeline contains some additional code that makes it possible to use federated identity. So I won't need to use or need to upload any SPF or any certificate anywhere. I don't need to upload or save a secret somewhere. I mean, it will just work out of the box with a certain configuration. So here we go. I need some kind of declaration here that I'll be able to read and write access tokens. This is a very important step. And then, well, this is just what we saw earlier. It will build the solution, and then on the deployment step, we've got a very simple script line in terms of a login. It will just log in using federated identity, and it will call, or it will say, I will log in with a certain Enter ID app on this specific tenant. And it will just work. So if you see here, I've got this workflow which is being built like yesterday. It built successfully and it deployed. It signed in, and It just worked like out of the box. It signed in with my identity, the federated identity, and it just worked. It's awesome. So let's see on the Enter ID side, how does it look like? Because you need an Enter ID app registration to make this work. I did have one here, right? This is the app registration. It's an app registration that I just created in my tenant. And well, it's not very, I mean, it's just new app registration done, and it's got some permissions. It's got a full control on SharePoint. You could also do this with size.selected though. And then the very interesting part is right here. It's not no certificates, no secrets, but it does contain a federated credential. And let me just open this one right up. I've created this one, and in Enter ID here, I just configured what organization, what repository, and what kind of branch I would like to authorize my deployments from. So this is actually saying, okay, Enter ID will accept or will authorize my GitHub repo to deploy if it's this repo and if it's coming from the main branch. And this is just really awesome. We now have a very simple configuration that I've just done with a couple of clicks and I filled out a couple of things, and this will just mean that my deployment that I have right here will work out of the box. Awesome, right? So how does it work for Azure DevOps? Well, it's more or less the same, but in Azure DevOps, if you know how it works, you'll need a specific thing called a service connection. And a service, well, actually you have two ways to do this, and one way is a service connection. And a service connection is really a connection that you set up with from within Azure DevOps, and you need to select the Azure Resource Manager. So with this service connection, you will be able to deploy to Azure and to deploy to Microsoft 365, as long as you select the specific app registration that you've created. And the great thing about this is that it will help you set up the correct configuration for your Enter app registration. So I've got one here, Blimp Service Connection. This is one that's been configured before, and as you'll see here is that it has an application ID, which is the application in my Enter ID, and it has some information about what you need to configure in Enter ID. So if I just open up my Enter ID again, you'll see I have a app registration right here, which is the same as the other one. It has some permissions, size and full control of all, and it also has a federated credential, which is configured a bit different. It's called Other Issuer, but then we just had to paste in the issuer and the subject value, and this is it. And Azure DevOps will now be able to deploy from our repo, which is awesome, isn't it? So let's just see how it looks. So we had this pipeline that well, I didn't really configure the authentication from, but I also have one that has federated identity deployment right here, and it's a bit more difficult, like the GitHub one. You need an Azure PowerShell task here so that you can use the Azure so that you can input the service connection in the task, and the CLI will now be able to use it. So as you can see, it just has one line to log into to Enter ID. And this will just pick up the app registration settings from the Azure subscription, or at least from the service connection, and it also has a specific token that it needs, and then it will be able to authenticate to Enter ID and deploy to SharePoint. So if you've done this, you can now do anything right here, like anything. You can deploy SPFX, you can deploy Copilot agents, you can deploy site scripts or whatever. It's super flexible, and you can do this with the CLI or with PnP PowerShell or whatever you want. Awesome. I think it's awesome. I hope you understood what I was telling you all about here. If you have any questions, do let me know. And then I'll just jump back in the slides and say thank you all for listening. And if you like, you can go to my blog. I've got a couple of posts on this to explain it more in detail. Back to you, David.
Awesome, Martin. Very, very cool. Really, there's a lot of moving pieces to all this. So really appreciate your simplified approach in how they can connect together and how powerful they can be. Got those links for everyone in the chat. They will also be in the show notes for those of you watching on YouTube. So thank you, Martin. Looking forward to your next one. Great job. Okay, let's roundabout back to Yuti. Yuti, I know you are back. If you want to try taking over the screen, let's see if we can get teams to cooperate?
Yeah, let's hope for the best this time.
See if we can get it to work.
Yeah, can you guys see it?
Ooh, it's loading. Yes, I see you inside of Teams, inside of
Yeah,
Teams.
that's nice.
Yep.
Okay.
And then can you just hit
So-
the little hide thing on the bottom, just because it'll make your presentation look better on the where it says Teams. There.
Yeah.
There you go. Perfect. Take it away.
Okay, so hello everyone, super happy to be here. Firstly, thank you so much, Microsoft, for this opportunity, and thank you so much to David, of course. So yeah, I'll be talking about my take on SharePoint portals and taking the use case of recreating the homepage of booking.com. So firstly, a bit about me. I'm Yuti, a UX designer from India, and I'm now based in London. I work for a fintech firm named Finz, and my area of expertise are UX research, service design, and visual and UI design. You can reach out to me via LinkedIn and Medium, and you guys can also check out my website as well. So let's get started. Here, a bit of an overview of what this demo is going to be like. First up is why I took up booking.com of all the websites. What is the design goal here, and a small demo and all the challenges that I faced and how I overcame it when using the SharePoint portal. Just want to say that why booking.com. So the instant thought that came from a place of familiarity, of course. I'm simply someone who interacts with the platform more often than not. Next is because I just got introduced to SharePoint portal as a design tool because I participated in the hackathon. So what's more fun than exploring the platform by recreating an existing site? So the design, the layout, the user flow, the feature set, they already exist. I didn't need to spend time inventing a new structure. So just to sum it up, I was simply translating and not ideating. So this helped me to focus purely on understanding SharePoint portal instead of solving two problems at once, which was design and tech, and test how SharePoint handles the real world complexity, which was a perfect way to measure the platform strengths and limits. Next up is accelerating the learning curve. So by having a clear goal and end product in mind, I could learn SharePoint features in context like web paths, lists, Power Automate. So I wasn't starting from a blank page. I was just simply working toward a known target, which reduced the cognitive load and confusion for me. Next up is it encouraged me in the perspective of design platform thinking. So if I have to put it in simple words, I was just forced to think, how do I map a particular booking.com feature into SharePoint's ecosystem? Of course, focus on execution and not ideation. Ideating a brand new solution required user research, wireframing, and validation. And here I wanted it to be more productive, to focus on how to build rather than what to build. And last up is encouraging clean architecture mapping. So I thought in terms of which SharePoint web part maps to the booking.com section. Like, can Power Apps mimic this booking form logic? All of that sort of helped me in sharpening my skills in adapting to architecture to platform constraints. So moving on to the design goal here is, like I said, to recreate a modern travel booking interface within SharePoint, prioritizing a clean and responsive and engaging user experience, and obviously to maintain the brand values and consistency of booking.com. Also to showcase interactive UI with SharePoint web parts. So I'll just quickly dive into the demo. I'm just going to play the video that I used to submit it because I no longer have the access to the SharePoint portal. So let's get started. So this is what I created while experimenting and exploring the platform. So let's create the same platform again. This is just an overview of how the entire platform is going to look like. Yeah, so I kind of deleted this because I no longer needed a hero section. So I would be just putting up with this one, adding a new section here and an image. All the images that I used in the submission are going to be from stock. So yeah, this is the image that I want to be working with. And I decided to have an overlay, which is going to say book your next vacation with booking.com. So let me just quickly write it down. It says book your next vacation with booking.com. I kind of don't want the black square around, so I'm going to reduce the opacity to 0. Kind of use the options. And I quite like the white text on the image, but I'm going to make it bold and italic so that the readability doesn't get compromised, and it goes a long way. I put it to 28 because that's what the minimum font size is going to be like. So there are no CTAs, no buttons on it, because I was sort of thinking that it should be concise. So the next thing I'm going to be offering the customers is with different packages starting from Mosque, Venice, and Austria in the form of UI cards. So I quickly pulled up the next section and got 3 columns sorted out here. Sorry, I just not from this one, but like I then realized that I should take one from the toolbox because it has more capabilities in terms of image. And then I also got a space to put up my text. I explored the free section templates before, and I quickly opened up stock to get my first image of Mosque. Like I said, that all the images are going to be from stock. So let me see my image that I want to be working with. Yeah, this is the image. I took it up. Putting it here, my next destination is going to be Venice. So I would be finding an image for Venice. Let's see what we've got. Quite the colorful image that I took for my website. The second bit, now we got the third picture sorted as well. I kind of wanted the difference in the landscape. So that's why I took up that image. That up. For the text, I wrote Mosque in 149 euros per person. So the laptop that I'm using, it was quite old and it doesn't have a currency for euros as a button in it. So I just copy pasted from Google. It says starting from the 31st of March, 4 nights, all meals included. So I just copy pasted it from what I was working with, because in the SharePoint, I was struggling with the time. So there was already a website that I created initially, and I was just copy pasting content from there to here and just playing around with the font size, the alignment, the font type. What I did was just put everything in bold and italic, and just to give you a gist of how I achieved it, I just played around with the fonts, like I said, and the image, just copy pasted things from here and there. Next up, I took a 3-column section and I realized that I no longer want that, because I changed my mind that I want to get testimonials in my website. So I took up another section template from what the SharePoint already has, and it had the section template I took was the 1/3 left image, where the 1/3 of the entire card is given to the image and the rest is for the text. I simply took up a stock image of a couple. For example, I was just browsing around and I want to go with this one. And then I again played around with the text and made the entire composition from 1 to 3. The entire thing, I want to put it in a pull quote, just so that it communicates to the user that this is something that the customers of booking.com has already experienced. And just get everything left aligned. And this is the same thing I will be doing for next 2 times, because I've got 3 testimonials in my website. Going here, took another section template. Yeah. This time I thought that I would be putting a photo of a man, just an instinct. And there is a certain text that I wanted to be here. Whatever their experience working with booking.com, that says that for him, it says the dream come true in Bali. And there was a customer from London. So again, I just did what I did on top. I just laid along with the text and the overall layout, and Microsoft really helped me in letting me know how I have messed up with the spellings and the sentence structures and the spacing and the overall language. So that is something which makes my work easy to double check, and yeah, left aligned everything just to create a visual balance. That was the reason why I played around with it more often than not. Again, I went ahead with a man, and again, I put up this thing as a testimonial. Like I said, how Microsoft has helped me into knowing my spellings and to not make blunders. Yeah, left aligned everything in bold and in italic. Put up an icon of a pull quote. Next up is designing the footer. Now, this was a bit challenging because I quite didn't know how to do that, but I took up this 3-column option again from the properties. I gave this a background color and I typed in the text. Just copy pasted the text from here and there. If not, I would have copy pasted. I would just have put in a text box right there, wrote it down, selected the font type, selected the font size and the font weight, and it is that easy. It is exactly how we use the PowerPoint presentation and how we used to put text in it. I started from my account and then I went down and edited the spacing, the font, and the font type. I simply did it so that it looks like that we have a typographical hierarchy to be followed. Same thing I did with the next two as well. So there was a lot of playing around with the font and the templates and the spacing, but if I have to look at my website, all these sections I've been following each other. The properties, even if you look at the image, the text, they all have been following each other. So it is quite simple to put in the section templates in there, but just one of the challenge I thought is that I cannot directly copy paste it, just like it's going to be there in any other design software, but it was still pretty easy to use. It was not, it just took a little bit more time than what I'm used to. Yeah. And now we have the last section to be followed, which is again going to be a text section, which is the end of the footer, which I'm putting up from the website that I created. I will handle that out. It's happening. This was something which I actually found a bit convenient about using the SharePoint portal, is that you can really not go back. It's like you can really, you really have to do Control Z multiple times to get it right. And the only option left was just to delete right in. Okay, we have got one column section in here, and by this I've added my text, which says with a copyright icon, all rights are reserved for booking.com, which I made it center aligned. Let me go back and have a look at my entire homepage. The first section that I have in here, I no longer need it, so I deleted that thing. I wanted to create like an exact homepage replica of booking.com, but with using all the features that SharePoint has to offer. This is what I came up with. I then went on to publish my URL, gave it a title, and we've got only an option for an email preview. So it would have been nice if I can get like an idea of how it's going to look like when I publish it. For example, if I go to booking.com page, this is email preview. It doesn't really show how the website will look like when the customer is going to use it. So I was really excited to see the preview thing works like it works in any other design platform, especially for UX and UI designers. So yeah, I have challenges and how I overcame it. So there are certain design limitations in SharePoint for which I couldn't implement the pixel perfect layout or custom animations like there in booking.com. So I use the SharePoint's modern web parts creatively, like hero, image, and quick links to simulate a similar visual experience. I focused on clean layout, structure, and clarity rather than getting the exact replica of it. The next is branding and visual constraint. So couldn't use booking.com's exact fonts, colors, or icons due to SharePoint's restrictions. So I used the closest SharePoint safe themed colors to evoke the booking.com feel, which was focused on the consistency in layout and spacing and the UX patterns rather than getting the perfect match. Next was an last one is the inconsistent rendering across devices. So we as designers sometimes we focus more on the responsiveness, which wasn't, in my experience, wasn't smooth across desktop and tablet and mobile. So it's really important to adjust these section layouts and web part alignment for mobile behavior. So I simply use the preview mode across devices to test iteratively and simplified mobile UI when needed. So that's about all. Thank you so much. I would love to hear your thoughts and would love to connect with anyone who is up for a discussion for this. So yeah, that's about all. I really hope I was in the time limit.
No, yeah, you're perfect. You're perfect. We will wrap it up here. And thank you, Yuti. Great job. Really great to see that as a designer, you were able to just adopt it on your own and be able to adjust and create something that you felt proud of, right? I always say that back in the day, it was always like, can you make SharePoint not look like SharePoint? And now it's, hey, it's getting there, and we're able to see how other people are trying to replicate what SharePoint can now do. So it's really cool. So thank you for the hackathon entry. Thank you for sharing with the community. Great job. Really good. And thank you to Matt and Martin and of course Yuti, first time presenter on the call as well. So thank you all for presenting with the community and sharing your passion. All right, let's wrap it up here. Don't forget, everybody, we've got our Discord server that is available to everyone. We've got 2,800 plus, I think 2,900 now we've actually got. So it's a really cool kind of one-stop shop to be able to collaborate with other members of the community and have fun together and see what the different projects you're doing all in kind of one place. Check that out, aka.ms/community/discord, and then provide us some feedback. Would love to hear what's working, and if you've got any suggestions on what we could do better, we're always looking to improve this. These calls are for all of you, so definitely let us know what you think. The recording will be available in 24 hours or less on the Microsoft Community Learning YouTube channel. If you subscribe, you'll get alerted as soon as it drops, aka.ms/community/YouTube. We are also on X and Blue Sky and LinkedIn. The next M365 and Power Platform bi-weekly development call, which you're in right now, will be in 2 weeks, July 17th. The next VV Connection SharePoint Framework, 1 week from today on June 10th. You can get access to the invites and direct links to all the calls at aka.ms/community/calls. Definitely get those on your calendar. Thank you everyone again for all of your passion. For those in the States, enjoy the long weekend, and thank you everyone for all you're doing in the community. Keep up the amazing work. We could not have this without you. Bye-bye.